Hey everybody, Jason Blaha here. As you guys can see, today I'm quite a bit fuller than I am normally in my videos. It's because I finished the transformation challenge, and so I'm not walking around glycogen depleted like I've been for the past couple of months. So again, I mean, I look quite a bit bigger and leaner than I have. And again, it's because I've been, in well over 1,000 calorie deficit in almost all of my videos, so I've been extremely depleted. All right, final pictures are up and the transformation challenge. And so what I'm going to do for you guys today is break down my strategy, my training and nutritional strategies, and then my final week prep of what I did for this contest to make the transformation that I did in 3 months. Let me give you guys a couple of shots first. Give you guys a bicep shot. All right. Now on to the strategies. The first thing I want to cover is for this challenge is my nutritional strategy. What I did initially, because I had been, even though I was still holding a lot of body fat, I had been lean bulking throughout the year on 4,500 calories, and I hadn't really gained any body fat, believe it or not. I was still carrying the body fat that I had previously gained while sick. So the first thing I did is that I kept my calories relatively high initially. I started this contest at I think around 3,200, 3,300 calories. And what I did was simply trained myself into a huge deficit rather than drop my calories down too low. And I mean, initially, I think I was on around 400 grams of protein every day. Not 400 grams, but 400 grams of carbs every day. And I kept my protein at, between, 200, 250 grams, usually around 250. And I dropped my fat really low. And my fat intake was insanely low. And one of the things I do want to point out, and this was a controversy in the contest, which is amusing because I know multiple people admitted to me they were using pretty hefty amount of steroids for this contest. So it's fucking asinine that people made a big deal about me being on HRT, when especially some of the guys in the bulking group are just straight up juicing. But I'm going to leave that alone. Um, but It's just absurd. But I want to point out that my fat intake, and the reason I'm going into this is that my fat intake is not appropriate for someone who's producing their own indigenous hormones. And for me, because I have a prescription for testosterone, and because again, my Meniere's disease overproduces cortisol, and it's also suppressed my testosterone production. And so I have a prescription for 150 milligrams of testosterone a week, which puts me, on the high end of normal, puts me close to where I used to be when I was in my early 20s naturally. Um, and so again, that does give an advantage, and I did manipulate that with my diet because I knew that I didn't need as much dietary fat, and because generally speaking, carbs are more both anabolic and anti-catabolic than our fat calories. I went ahead and dumped my fat really low and replaced it with more carbs to give me more training fuel, more insulin response, things like that. So initially, I kept those calories quite high and trained into a deficit. I didn't incorporate any refeeds for quite a while. Actually, I went ahead and ran a straight deficit, and then I started at those calories. And after about 2 weeks, I started dropping my calories down, down to about 2,500. And then I would say right around 3 weeks into the contest, 4 weeks into the contest, I dropped my calories rock bottom. And so again, it was to force rapid fat loss. And I backed off some of my conditioning work on the training end, and then I ran into just straight caloric deficit, heavy lifting, caloric deficit, no conditioning or cardio work. And I ran something like 1,800, 1,900, 2,000 calories most days. And I think I did that for around 3 weeks straight before I did my first refeed. And again, the same strategy on that. I basically just took those calories from the carbs. I kept the fat constant, the protein constant, although some days I went ahead and ate 300 or 350 grams of protein and just dropped my carbs lower. And again, it's because, a certain amount of protein can be converted to carbohydrates. I wanted the higher thermic effect from the protein, as well as the extra satiation factor, because for me it was extremely difficult being on those sort of calories. I'm a voracious overeater. I'm naturally fat. I mean, for me, when I first started working out, for me, a typical dinner 7 nights a week, I ordered a large pizza from Pizza Hut and a 2 liter of Dr. Pepper, and that was my dinner every night when I was 19 years old, which is also, why I was 270 pounds. Because I actually had a physically active job where I was literally on my feet all day. And, again, it was just my dietary habits. I'm a voracious eater. So, I mean, I did things like that. I used insane amounts of diet soda. I would say my average day, just for the satiation aspect, I would say that I consumed probably 4 liters of diet soda pretty much every day of this contest once my calories went below 3,000. Um, and then, what I did, I kept the calories there, and then around the 6 week mark into the contest, I started incorporating once a week refeeds. And at first, I ran those, just right at maintenance, maybe a little above. And then as I got deeper into the contest, I kept my daily calories really low, and I started incorporating big refeeds, like 4,000 calories, sometimes 4,500 calories. And I did that all the way up until the final 3 weeks. And then for the final 3 weeks, I upped my calories slightly. I stayed around, usually, 2,000, 2,200, which is still a huge deficit for me. And I didn't refeed at all during the final 3 weeks. And again, the final week is completely separate. I'll cover that at the end, what I did for my final prep. But that was my overall dietary approach. I mean, and I used intermittent fasting, and if it fits your macros methods. And I mean, I ate tons of food that would be called junk food. Um, I did eat a lot of chicken, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, fat-free fromage fraise, things like that. Occasionally lean cuts of steak. But I mean, all of my carbs were basically what most people consider dirty carbs. I mean, I did have some whole wheat bread sandwiches in there um, pretty frequently for a while, and then I cut those out later. But I mean, mostly my carbs were, high glycemic index carbs. I ate mostly white rice, um, low fat ice cream, pizza. I try to find lower fat pizzas, so I ate a lot of pizza. I did eat a lot of fruit. Um, I put a lot of honey and chocolate syrup and things into my various dairy, my fat-free dairy. But I mean, for the most part, I ate huge amounts of fructose, huge amounts of refined grains. I mean, for my carb sources. I mean, even my sauces were sugary sauces. All my chicken and white rice, I either, use curry sauce or just, straight sweet and sour sauce on it. And of course, I did eat a lot of veggies in there for the satiation. So again, when I made sandwiches, I put spinach leaves on it. And I mean, and generally my normal veggies were, again, broccoli, cauliflower, carrots. And those are really my three go-tos, are the only veggies I really happen to like. And so I tend to eat lots of those, and it's fine because they're very micronutrient dense. Um, On to the training. My training approach for this, initially I trained myself into a deficit. And I mean, I'm talking the first month of the contest. I took one day off, the day after pictures to go out of town for my wife's birthday. And then I would say the next 30 days, I didn't take a single day off from training. And I lifted weights in some manner 7 days a week for the first month. And initially I started with straight full body 7 days a week, heavy work. And I mean, everything in the 1 to 5 rep range. I still did powerlifting, tons of speed work. Almost all compounds. Again, obviously some extra arm work because arms can be a weak point for me. So I did do arm isos initially, but I literally did no other isos for the first few weeks of the contest. It was all compounds, full body 7 days a week. Every day I did some sort of press, some sort of squat, some sort of pull. On top of that, I did lots of conditioning work. I would say every day I did at least 30 minutes of just farmer's walking with a 45-pound plate in each hand. And I did at least 3 to 4 days a week. I did barbell complexes, like high rep barbell complexes. As people often see, CrossFitters and things doing. But again, it's general GPP work for powerlifters. And I would say I was averaging at least 3 hours in the gym 7 days a week, either doing just GPP type conditioning work or straight weightlifting. As the calories started to get lower, I was not able to do this anymore. I couldn't handle the full body, so I switched over to Still 7 days a week of lifting most weeks, but I switched over to a push-pull setup. And on the push-pull, again, it was mostly heavy work. It was mostly 5x5s, although I would alternate with speed work. And then I would do 1 day a week of what I would call bro sculpting. Again, high rep work to address my weak points and train them for extra glycogen storage. My push days were generally things like, box squats, front squats, bench press. I also did speed squats off of a box. I did speed presses. I would do standing barbell presses, sometimes push presses, a lot of close grip pressing. And then I would do, again, extra tricep work on those days, skull crushers, dumbbell work. And of course, I trained abs every day. So again, my core work was done on push and pull days. My pull days, I cut my heavy deadlifts out because I really started struggling with deadlifts early on in this. I mean, right before the cut, I was deadlifting 545 and I could nail 495 for, a good 4 reps. And I mean, and as I started trying to cut, I started finding that doing, 495 for a single was becoming even difficult. So, I mean, I had lost like 50 pounds off my deadlift really quick and it was just burying me, so I had to cut it out. So for pull days, I started with barbell rows, but again, my old bicep tear started bothering me. So I switched over to T-bar rows eventually, because even, pin leg rows bothered me. So I did a lot of T-bar rows. I did a lot of initially speed pulls instead of conventional deadlifts. I did rack pulls, shrugs, a lot of heavy shrugging because again, my traps were a bit of a weak point. And upright rows. I even started incorporating a little bit of cable work for lats. On those days, I would also do things like good mornings. I would do some hamstring isos on an isolation curl, leg curl machine. And I did a lot of various curling. I mean, hammer curls, incline curls, alternating dumbbell curls. So again, lots of arm work was incorporated on the pull days. And then I had 1 day of just of sculpting work where I would come in and do some close grip presses and things, but tons of isos for my arms, my side delts, extra ab and calf work. And at this point, I had cut out all of my conditioning work and just used a lot of lifting, and I was still averaging close to 20 hours a week actually lifting for the duration of this. And again, it started to become problematic. Near the end, I was having so much problem with my connective tissue, joints, tendons, things like that I really had to back off. And what I incorporated for most of the final month, I went back to full body routines. And as the end started approaching, I went to full body 5x5, but I started incorporating more metabolic work as I got closer to the end. And I did that even midway through. Started adding more high rep work to start training my muscles to hold more glycogen because I knew I was going to need that for the carb up. And because I hadn't done any metabolic work leading into it, I had great tissue hypertrophy, but I didn't have nice full round muscle bellies because I didn't really train them particularly for glycogen storage with metabolic fatigue. I'd been doing mostly 1 to 5 rep work to rebuild all of my size. And so for me, by incorporating all this metabolic work, I knew that it would also dramatically change my physique, that it would make me look a lot fuller. All my muscles would look a lot bigger and more round, even though they hadn't actually grown in terms of hypertrophy. And it's because, again, you're not going to really grow on a deficit like I'm in, but you can train those storage factors. And I capitalized on that very heavy. And then the final 2 weeks of the contest, I literally switched to straight 3-day-a-week metabolic work. All 10 rep sets, 5x10s and things with fairly short breaks on full body 3 days a week. Also, what I had to do, because again, my metabolism was starting to slow the final month, I really, really struggled to lose that last 5 pounds. I lost the vast majority of the weight per week in the first 2 months. And I mean, even the final month, I only lost 4.5 pounds of actual body weight between, on the weigh-ins. And so again, I mean, it was very, very difficult because my metabolism was starting to slow a bit. My thyroid was slowing down. So what I did on all of my days, I didn't do my full body lifting, I did cardio. And I varied that every day. I mean, some days I just did lists, other days I did intervals or HIIT type cardio. And I just changed it up a lot, again, just to help with my boredom. Because I really, really hate cardio. To me, it is just soul destroying. And I hate doing it. But I had to, again, to get the caloric burn that I needed. All right, my general strategy for the final prep week. Sorry, in case you guys are getting bored. Let me give you guys another bicep shot. All right, all right. My strategy for the final week. What I did. The last day I actually lifted uh, was last Friday. So actually tomorrow I will go back to the gym because I've actually taken a week off from the gym to let my body recover and rest. Um, but my Friday was a super high volume, intense metabolic workout to deplete glycogen. Um, and again, the final 3 days, so I took pictures on Tuesday, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I dropped my carbs to nearly zero. The only carbs that I got were in whey protein and in fried chicken. And I literally went on a diet of barbecue chicken, fried chicken, steak, and whey protein, and water, a bit of diet soda still for a little while, and I cut that out about 2 to 3 days out. And again, I kept my calories fairly low during that. Saturday and Sunday, I went in and did cardio. I did HIIT type cardio on those days also to further deplete glycogen. And then uh, and then Sunday night, actually it might have been the Thursday before I cut the carbs out because I went 3 days of depletion. And then Sunday night I started refeeding on carbs. I ate about 3,000 calories total that night. High carbs. I ate just foods I enjoy. I didn't not even really sure what I ate, to be honest. Other than I ate a lot of like rice cakes in there also. I ate some rice cakes with sugary stuff on them. I ate some cookies and stuff also. And then Monday was my major carb up, and I had at least 7,000 calories. What I went ahead and did on Monday, because I was taking pictures Tuesday morning, I went ahead and cut my water intake in half a bit. So I didn't do a true dry carb up, but it was semi-dry. So I ended up drinking a lot of other liquids besides water. And what I did is that I kept my fiber as low as possible in order to get a little bit of extra salt and some protein in. I went ahead and ate a little bit of pizza Monday morning, but again, I was worried about any bloat from that, so I didn't eat it later into the day. I wanted to give it 24 hours to clear because there's a little bit of fiber in pizza, and there is some dairy there. And then the rest of the day after that, I basically knocked down 7,000 calories of just straight low-fat chocolate chip cookies, orange juice, and vodka. And by that meaning, I bought a whole 16-ounce bottle of vodka, and I would mix drinks all evening, half and half of the vodka and orange juice, and drink a whole liter of orange juice. And basically, I ate like 8 packages of chocolate chip cookies and some ginger snaps, and which are like these little ginger type biscuits they sell here in the UK. And and that's generally what I did. Also, I tanned for the final week. I tanned every single day, and then I pretty much sunburned myself on Monday, the day before the pictures. I went ahead and went on the bed. Normally, I do 6 minutes a day. I went ahead and did 12 minutes, and got a nice dark tan. And of course, it's already fading. I'm just naturally so pale that I fade really quickly. But that's what I did for my tanning. And the morning of the pictures, really, I don't have special lighting. I took the pictures in this room with this cam and with the same lights that are on now, but again, it was dark outside, so I didn't have extra light coming in, because again, this UK, I mean, the sun doesn't come up till like 8 o'clock, and I did my pictures around 7 a.m. And even the morning of that, I had a bunch of, in my morning coffee, I had a bunch of chocolate syrup in it, and I had a few rice cakes with honey on them to get some extra carbs in my system. And I wish the veins had appeared. I was pretty vascular when I took the pictures, but my camera and that lighting didn't really pick up on all the veins, but that's okay. Um, but yeah, again, my body fat wasn't as low as I would have liked it to have been, but I still managed to get myself as full and as dry as possible for the body fat I had in those pictures. Um, oh, one of the other things I want to point out, I've had a few people ask me, again, that am I sucking my gut in? And I think I've talked about this in videos before, but no, it's what I do actually. This is, again, I learned this from guys like Arnold and Frank Zane. If you notice, their guts are always sucked in when they're on stage, or they were, years ago, because they did stomach vacuums. And so for me, during this entire contest prep, and I used to do this years ago also, I practiced stomach vacuums every single morning as soon as I got out of bed on an empty stomach. I did 3 sets of stomach vacuums, and then the same thing at the gym after my core work. I do at least one vacuum at the end of my core work. And the reason for that being is that you can train your abs to basically stay sucked in even when you're resting. So for me, even if I'm laying down sleeping at night, my gut is sucked in, and it's because I've trained it to do that. And it's a tip I would definitely recommend for anybody who's pursuing aesthetics and a smaller waistline. Do stomach vacuums, because again, if you don't, you're basically you're wasting a lot of effort getting lean to just walk around with your fucking gut hanging out, because you haven't properly trained it to suck in, and you're always going to look fatter than you really are because you actually haven't trained your abdominal wall, to suck itself in and make your waistline like trimmer and more small just when you're relaxed. And again, if you can do that, it lets you take the conscious effort off of actually having to suck in. If you want to look your best, and because again, you've trained the muscles to just do that all the time, you'll basically, if you train with the vacuums long enough and consistently enough, you'll basically, even when you're relaxed, just have trained them to suck in a bit, and you'll look like that 95% of the time, and you won't have to put any conscious effort into it. And again, it's very, very helpful when you're doing things like that, or you just you want to look more aesthetic in general, because it lets you basically do something that some people would be considering cheating or silly, such as sucking your gut in, but without ever having to think about it. It'll just be automatic, because you will have trained that response. And so I definitely recommend doing that. All right, and that was my overall strategy for this, and I hope it was informative, and it gives you guys a good idea of the strategy I used. The results of the contest are not in yet. And I personally think, looking through the pictures thus far, but there are some some people who haven't submitted yet that are going to be some strong contenders. So, I mean, I could be in trouble. At least one guy like Ryan has made amazing progress and done no update pictures, and I'm waiting on him because I think he's definitely a threat. Um, Dukin did some really nice work, and actually a lot of people did a really, really good job. I think a lot of the people did really good work. I think with me, I went a bit over the top because again, my friends and family know I am one of the most competitive people in the world. Playing a board game with me or Monopoly with me is a nightmare for most people, because I take it seriously. It's life and death to me. I don't lose. And even with a Monopoly game, I will fight tooth and nail. I'll play dirty. I do whatever I have to do. I win. And it can be a very positive and a negative thing for me. But it's just the way I am. So I went a bit over the top. And I think out of what I see thus far, I had the most dramatic transformation. However, again, it's going to be up to the judges to decide. The judges are going to decide what they're looking for. Some of them might not have liked my strategies, and they may hold that against me. And again, there's going to be a general vote for one of the places also. So I really don't know for sure how this is going to go. I hope I win it. I know I gave it 100%. I literally put my heart and soul into winning this and making as dramatic of a transformation as humanly possible for me. But again, it's going to be up to the judges to decide. So I really don't know how it's going to go, and we still are going to have some last minute entries. And so I really can't say how it's going to go, but I hope I win. And again, that's really all I have to say on that today. This has been quite a long video. Let me give you guys another couple poses, and I'll talk to you next time.